Hello, everyone. This is, once again, the Nickscast plus Goat. And we're coming to you live from Toronto. It's Anime North.
Live is a bald-faced lie, and you know it.
Starring...
Near live. Starring...
Z... G... T...
Woo!
With musical guest, Goat.
That is the corniest thing we could have possibly done.
No. Here's your host, Z. Alright, so we just want to start off tonight's roundup with a little note. We are at a convention right now, so we don't really have access to all the very fancy doodads and doohickeys and software that we definitely always use to edit and to make things professional. So because of that, we might leave in a few swears and this and that and the other. Basically, don't expect a lot of editing. You might have noticed from last night's recording, some things were left in that normally don't show up in the podcast, but that's just because we don't have both the resources right now, since we're away at a convention, and the time because we're away at a convention.
Yeah, we're recording this at almost, it's 11:30, so there's still a bunch of stuff going on with the con, but we gotta check out tomorrow morning, so we're gonna do whatever we can to give you guys the best that we can, but sorry.
We just want to get this out to the people. We apologize if things get too real.
Yeah.
And I apologize in advance for being too real.
Oh man. So, gentlemen, what were you up to today? We had a whole day today as opposed to yesterday.
Yeah.
What were you guys up to?
What a day.
Well, I guess it's fair to mention that we all kind of started the same panel together today.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Was that the first event for all of us?
Yeah.
I believe that was all.
So.
Yep.
We managed to get out to a panel at the crack of noon.
Yes, we are very early risers.
We had breakfast first. On religion and spirituality in anime.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Religion and spirituality in anime.
So at that panel, which had 7 panelists, the most I've seen for a panel, I think.
Yeah.
How many? Well, we'll talk about that later.
Mm-hmm.
They sort of ranged all over the yard in terms of what they were talking about. There are a couple of them with academic backgrounds. One was an astrophysicist, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the most unusual fellow of the bunch. So there were 7 panelists. One person had a background in, I believe, gender studies and religion and a number of other things. They're not a PhD in all those things necessarily, but that was their academic background. The other person was a Shinto priestess,
Yes.
Shinto shrine maiden.
Yeah.
There was another person who was a
Buddhist?
a particular type of Buddhist. I do not remember.
Shingen, was it?
Shingen, yeah.
Shingen
probably.
Buddhist?
Yes. That sounds right.
There was the moderator, who I don't think had any particular leanings, but he was a good guy too.
I believe he was a history scholar.
He was
Like-
a historian.
He was a historian.
Yeah.
He was a historian.
He had a little bit of every time it came back around to him, he had a little nugget of history.
Yeah. And then the last person, if we covered everybody else, arrived late, but they were mostly tying things together with Norse mythology and kind of Germanic stuff. Yeah. It was unusual because it was in one of the larger halls.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of space for people to attend. Not that the event was poorly attended, but just it was a big space to fill.
One of the panelists who was there was actually at one of the writing panels that I'd been to on Friday, last night, and they said that since they started coming to the con, since they came by special request of the con runners 3 years ago, they've run that panel, or they've been on that panel in some capacity, and over the years it's gotten bigger and bigger. So I think it's a sort of mainstay of Anime North at this point, and that's probably why it was in a big room.
It was interesting because in that panel, you mostly had there's not too much discussion between the audience and the panelists, but it'd basically be like the moderator, the historian, would sort of like start out on a topic, and then they just went down the line, and each person gave their own little slice of information, like in Buddhism this kind of brought about this sort of change, and that kind of married up with this part of Shintoism, and then the way like Christianity was viewed in Japan, and it just kind of like there weren't that many topics covered, but each topic was covered from like a lot of different angles.
Yeah.
Well, I thought they gave like a really concise, like brief history of like Christianity in Japan, sort of like through the lens of anime, and how that affected sort of the Japanese political take on religion, and how that affected Buddhism and Shinto down from the Sengoku Jidai, like the warring states period of Japan, to pretty much modern day Japan. Sort of a crash course.
I think it was you two were saying you could listen to a whole panel on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like the really cool thing, like the panel was good as an introduction, but because it had so many panelists and because it was so broad, it would have also been really good if it could have been like 2 hours. Which, I mean, it went for an hour and a half. A bunch of us had other panels that we had to go to, so we went our separate ways. Or alternatively, like because there was a Shinto shrine maiden and a person with this academic background in religions and whatnot, and because you had this Buddhist person, you could have easily had like a panel dedicated to like Eastern religions or Western religions or something like that in reference to anime, because then you could have talked about Christianity in Japan. You could have talked about the symbolism or something to that effect. It was still a really good panel. We didn't have a lot of time to like get into a lot of stuff. It's just like, here's a thing, and here's a thing, and here's a thing, and we're out of time.
Well, something that they seem to be doing a lot on the schedule. I hadn't been to too many panels to experience it firsthand, but there's a lot of panels and then nothing in a room, and that was the case with this one. And we left about around
left at the hour mark.
Yeah, about at the hour mark. But like there were still quite a few people lined up asking questions.
No, they were full steam.
Yeah, and every question went right on down the line. So I think what Soap said, like she was there for another half hour after that.
Yeah. Well, like they were still going strong with questions when I left at 1, so it didn't surprise me.
Yeah. Other panels that people got up to? I mean, I ended up going to more cosplay panels. I mean, obviously, T, the guy who cosplays, for reference, haven't cosplayed in like a decade.
I don't recognize the series you're from tonight, but I'm sure it's great.
It's a really lazy Dwight cosplay from The Office.
Okay.
No. I went to another panel on cosplay. It was, again, on thermoplastics. This time it was just like a general tips and tricks. It was like packed. It was in the same room. It was in the Ottawa room. It was completely filled. There were so many people that had helpful tips and tricks. I actually got to carry a bunch of the material that was covered in the first thermoplastics panel into the new one, which was cool because I felt like I was really contributing. Yeah. And there were some other new tips about how to work with the material or what materials to use. There was more talk about like gesso, which is like a hardening agent that you can sand and polish and whatnot. But it was pretty good. The first one was more of an introduction, and this one was like, hey, we don't have a specific plan. This isn't a tutorial. This is, we want to offer any tips and tricks. If you know stuff that we don't, let us know, and then other people can find out.
Was there any hands-on in this panel?
No, this one was not hands-on. It was fun for me because it's like, what about these materials? I'm like, well, I don't know. This place gave me these samples, and you can go get these samples at the cosplay supplies place.
Yeah.
So that one was odd, but it was still interesting as a panel. I think you guys went to some other panels though.
We did homophobia.
The trans and homophobia. In fandom.
In fandom, yes. What would you say about it?
Some was interesting stuff. It seems a shame that a lot of the panel seemed to be about that a lot of anime is not keeping up in its end on representing like queer people in anime. There was there's sort of a lot of discussion of them not quite going the distance in terms of a lot of the panelists' opinions, but it just seemed to me that I was sort of sad I left the panel because it just seemed to me like everyone would bring up an anime and then they'd talk about kind of that its portrayal ended up ultimately being disappointing. So it means like there's still quite a gulf to bridge in terms of most anime catching up to what people like to see in the queer community.
It seems like it would have been interesting to go to get a feel for it, but
yeah. Well, that's primarily why I ended up going there. Was for me, it's just I have a very limited amount of exposure to those communities, and to give you a chance to give yourself a chance to step into it and at least hear if I can maybe say it, hear their grievances, as it were.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It at least gets your mind thinking in a different capacity. Because given the chance, I think you'd identified that there was another, for what I was looking for in terms of an educational experience, there are other panels I could have chosen, but
yeah, well, and I mean, Anime North is run by volunteers, and so sometimes you get like, I'm not saying the panelists are bad, but sometimes they just don't have as much experience. I have a great friend in back at home, and they love talking about queer issues, and they're very knowledgeable about it, and they'd make a really great panelist, but they're not here. And so you might have people like, not like us, because we very clearly are not experts.
Don't feel that you have to.
Don't. Hey, that's the first time I haven't done it.
You're welcome.
Thanks. But like, so you get people who try their best, and sometimes people are not necessarily good teachers. And especially if you go to a panel that isn't like a 101 or something, then you might not get what you expect.
Mm-hmm.
But it was cool that you guys got to learn something, even if it wasn't like a perfect fit.
Yeah. I'd leave it at that. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a good experience especially when like we've talked about in the future running panels together, and I know you guys you're covering a panel tomorrow, which is exciting personally for me to sit and watch you guys do that. But like when we talk about maybe doing something in the future, that's something you kind of keep in the back of your head while you're watching this.
Yeah,
People
like-
take their first steps into the realm of paneling.
Yeah. Well, plus that's one day I will speak pretty.
But
That's
not this day.
Not this day.
Mm.
That's kind of a lot like the religion and spirituality in anime, right? Like it's this huge topic, and you've got 1 hour, and then you've got these people who have this really specific interest. Like I don't know if you guys stuck around for the questions.
A few of them.
We were
Somebody-
only there for like 4 of the questions. At the
Somebody
Religion
asked
panel.
like a really specific question about like this spin-off of the Journey to the West manga.
I think that might have been the last question that I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
I mean, like,
And people were like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it sounds like-
Unfortunately.
it sounds like the homophobia and transphobia panel was like basically people raising their hands and saying, "What about this anime? What about that anime?"
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, like, there's only so much you can do with that kind of a format,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. But
Z,
Yeah.
you. So before we started doing any stuff this morning, we looked at the schedule and tried to figure out what things people wanted to go to. And oftentimes you're like, I want to go to X, Y, and Z, and they'll fall at the same time because you can't plan around that stuff.
yeah,
So fortunately, there are 4 of us. Even though Evan tends to tag along with whoever.
I'm terrible at choosing panels.
Yeah, I mean the goat's not very good at choosing panels,
I'm also
so he'll
not
tag
very-
around.
I'm not very good at doing my research either, so
He'll tag around with one of us, so like 3 of us. But that's still 3 people who can go and take a look at something.
yeah.
And so, so in this case, Z wanted to go to a bunch of writing-related panels and all this
Did I
boring
ever?
stuff.
What is this? School or some kind of convention?
Some sort of
But
shul.
How many of the like 88 or so writing panels did you actually end up attending?
About
That's amazing.
about 83.
Oh man.
No, I kid. Well, after spirituality and religion and anime, I feel like we're calling it something different each time, but that's cool. I went over to a panel called "Writing About Anime for Fun and Profit," which which was basically just about writing like anime reviews or about feature articles about anime for either websites or magazines or like whatever paying markets are out there. And it was really neat because most of the time the writing panels at Anime North and other conventions are for fiction, so you don't really get a whole lot of nonfiction at these kinds of conventions, and that was really interesting. And it was just specifically maybe for me, it was interesting just to hear about all the different places that you can actually like submit query letters to, or actually like submit reviews to that you just wouldn't expect. Like IGN, for example. I had no idea that they had any kind of interest in anime there, but apparently they do, and apparently they're so new to the game that like as long as you have something, and it's halfway decent, you could submit it and probably get some kind of a response.
I gotta tell you, from having IGN on my Twitter feed, that's got to be the only way they could possibly do it, because god damn it, they have stories on everything, and there's like 100 of them a day. Wow. They must accept everything.
There you go. Heard it here first. IGN accepts everything.
I'm gonna get sued.
The goat, you can find the goat's address located somewhere on the bottom of the screen.
You've betrayed me.
Only once. Just this time.
Oh, God.
And every other time.
Anyway. So after that I went to a photo shoot, a fairy tale photo shoot, for that very popular anime series.
Did you bring the creepy mask?
That you all I was going to save it for a gag at the end, but okay.
No, I'm going to reveal it.
So they were giving these out.
Wow.
Good. It's a character from the series called Ichiya, who's basically like Tingle, but instead of being creepy, he's a pervert. But he's like this short guy.
Instead of?
He's a short guy.
Synonymous.
I don't know. Would you say that Tingle is necessarily a pervert? I mean, this isn't the Zelda podcast here, but
If Nintendo came out and said, yes, Tingle is a pervert,
would anyone?
I wouldn't even question it.
Anyway, go on.
Go on. Anyway, but like he's a total joke character, and he runs this guild of wizards who are all like pretty boys, but he's like this 4 foot nothing, like short squat guy. I think the joke is that he's like in his late 20s, but all the other characters, because this is an anime, are like 19. So he's over the hill and all that stuff because he's 29.
He's basically washed up.
Anyway, but he's also a joke character because there's like one of the more serious characters in the show is totally creeped out by him. Like she's just totally skeeved out by his presence whenever he's around. So there's an episode where everybody kind of gets like some sort of infection where they, I guess, take on his characteristics, and it's just her nightmare. It's an hilarious episode. Anyway, none of that has to do with panels. All of that has to do with awesome cosplayers and a lot of fanish enthusiasm and whatnot. So after that, I went over to the room where I stayed for the next 2 hours to see a panel about the transition from paper to ebooks, which I kind of expected to be more like, this is how things were, this is how things are, this is maybe how things will be. But it was more like one panelist, I still publish traditionally with like big publishing houses and stuff. Another panelist does that and also self-publishes, and then a third panelist just self-publishes. And it was just a discussion between the three of them. They were all discussing a lot of stuff.
That there was a discussion.
I tell you what.
Precisely. Anyway, and then after that there was another panel on the business of writing, and I found them to be kind of similar, but anyway.
Well, I mean, we've been to a lot, like Z and I have been to a lot of panels on writing as a craft and things like that in Anime North, which is not something that you would think would be a big thing, but they get a pretty big draw.
Yeah, it's definitely consistent. Every year there's at least 2 or 3.
Yeah, a lot of the if you were here, why didn't you go to the panel? It was good. You should have gone to the panel. But if you didn't, like a lot of it was, the biggest thing is writing a lot.
Yeah.
Reading a lot to know what you like, what you don't like, what's good, what's not.
How to do stuff.
Yeah, the mechanics of writing. Yeah. A little bit of knowing what's popular and what's not. That in terms of writing as a business. But a lot of the writing panels are, you need to write a lot to understand how you write, your voice, what's good, and it takes a lot of a body of work before you write something that's good or that you're happy with or things like that.
And there's just the whole idea that the more you write, the more portfolio you have, so the more stuff you have to show off.
Yep. Yeah. Did you two go to other panels?
We did.
I know you had plans for wrestling that didn't turn out.
I missed the wrestling. I'm sort of disappointed in that. It just didn't work out with my panels every other hour, and then wanting to sit down in a room for a period of time, and it ended up that by the time we got to the wrestling, they were dismantling the ring, and that was sad. But maybe next year. We did, however, manage to scope out most of, if not all of, the dealer's room.
I think we covered every square inch.
We went around pretty thoroughly.
Oh yeah.
Each loop in search of a different thing. I was keen to check out their comic book selection, and there was some, but it seems like most of the vendors here know where their bread is buttered, and it was just all manga. Yeah. Keeping in mind that half of the store's names are something comics, but never mind that. I still got a bit of a browse and wound up getting Green Lantern comic, and you came away with something as well.
I'm taking my first foray into Deadpool.
Oh, cool.
A couple of standalones in particular, but not that I haven't touched on comics before, but having grown up with one of my brothers collecting them, there was always that steal a comic, read through, but I've never followed it. I've never collected, certainly. So for me to step back out after all these years and jump into it, I'm excited to see what happens. And I was telling Green this earlier. The only reason I haven't done this sooner, because I have had the urge, is because I am honest to God afraid to try and make the financial commitment that could be involved.
Yeah. It can be quite a rabbit hole.
Just pick one series and commit to it, and then wait.
How many times do they rewrite any one story?
You don't have to. You don't have to follow the rewrites. You can just
follow
enjoy this one. It's like this artist or this author did this story, and then it ended on this. And that's...
Which rewrite do I start on, though?
That's where you turn to the internet for advice and try and pick through all of that.
Yeah, or you just read the wiki and start at issue 73.
And I know you were trying to find a copy of Beck.
Yes.
That unfortunately did not pan out.
We were walking around yesterday in the dealer's room. I think, Turwood, you were with me at the time.
Beck.
We found one copy of Beck, and I was too elitist and snide because it had the SAVE acronym across the spine.
Can't have that.
Yeah, I wanted something that was, that wasn't released as some special
You
cheap
wanted
bargain
something.
copy.
You wanted something collectible.
Yes, is what I was looking for. And I said it at the time. I said, I've never actually seen Beck as a DVD released. I've never seen it at any other Anime North, just in passing. And sure as hell, every table we went to today, including the one where I'd seen Beck yesterday, no. That single copy was gone, and nobody else had it.
Interesting.
Didn't exist.
However much the dealer's room changes, it always stays the same.
No, it gets bigger every year.
I'm speaking metaphorically, somewhat.
It gets bigger, but a lot of the same DVDs repeat themselves.
Yes.
Just
whatever you can get at one table, you can generally get at the next.
I gotta stop being so poetic. All I meant, guys, was just that if you don't pick something up when you first see it, it's gone.
It's gone.
As soon as you turn it around, it's
she's
gone.
She's a harsh mistress.
Absolutely.
Did either of you guys get a chance to scope out the dealer's room today?
I deliberately tried to avoid the dealer's room. One, because I don't like to part with my money, but two, because I really want. Every time I go to Anime North, I want to go to all these panels, and inevitably you end up dropping some of them because you need to do things like eating lunch and eating dinner, or like catching up with friends, or just doing things. Or in my case today, losing my jacket. Or being up till 5:30 in the morning because you were... You're going to hold on right now?
Yes.
Okay.
You didn't tell me you lost your jacket.
So, hey, Internet, let's learn about why T lost his jacket today.
I want to know why you're an idiot. For once in your life.
We went out for breakfast this morning, and it was cool.
T's jacket's diaries.
And then I left my jacket, I think, at the hotel restaurant.
Oh.
And then I went to a panel, and then like 4 hours later, when I was about to go outside to go to the dealer's room, I'm like, it's probably a lot warmer out right now. I don't think I need my jacket. That's good, because I can't find my jacket. Oh, wait! I haven't had my jacket for like the last 5 hours. And then I got lucky, and I contacted Con, and they're like, it's not at our lost and found, but it's the hotel's. And the hotel's like, yeah, here it is, so... It was actually kind of a lackluster story, but I was just like, I went for like 4 hours without realizing that I'd lost my jacket.
I thought we were gonna do a save T's jacket thing, like on the video, but I'm disappointed to find out that you found it already.
If you're out there, T's jacket.
It's anticlimactic, but I don't know what I expected.
That's why I was trying to let's just cut right through this.
I wasn't gonna let that happen.
Yeah.
Do you want to get back to complaining about how long it took to upload the previous video?
God.
I don't remember what the first point was, but the last night, cutting out of the con report for a second.
I'll get back to the dealership.
Yeah. Last night, so we're not experts. We're not experts. I'm not going to finish the quote. We're just not experts.
No.
So we were like, you know what? We're going to record this con report. We're going to put it up. We're going to have people see it because we want to try this. We want to get it out there, and it's something we haven't done before. And that is the part that is very important. We haven't done this before. So
because we haven't done this before.
Yeah. We recorded it. That part was easy. We go to upload it to YouTube. That part, in theory, was easy. And then we started uploading it, went for a walk, come back, find out it's going to take another hour and a half, go to the front desk, try to get the upload speed increased, whatever. We ended up being up till like 5:30, waiting for it to process or upload or something, or edit, and then...
My God, wasn't that a journey.
That was rough.
But we are back again tonight.
And we are not doing that much work. We love you guys this much. Just enough.
Keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, but in terms of the dealer's room, I think I've got a good lay of it, but I was trying to avoid it today. I did go and buy like 17 volumes of manga.
Okay, so you were not successful and you're trying to
I
avoid
failed. Today's mission failed.
I know after some of that green tea pocky, which is delicious by the way.
It was great.
I am going back and wasting a whole butt ton of money on pocky, and I haven't touched that stuff in years.
Stuff.
Butt ton, it's PG, right?
Yeah,
butt
that's
ton.
fine.
Yeah,
it's funny when you put it that way. Butt ton.
Z, you were about to talk about your experiences in the dealer's room today.
Yeah, I was. I just had a really, really brief experience in there. I was killing time between panels, and I already found what I was looking for last night at Namanoichi. All I really came here looking for, two things. First few volumes of the fairy tale manga, which I found at Namanoichi, 5 volumes, $35.
Good deal.
Way, way, way below. Maybe one less way, below both the U.S. and the Canadian cover price, which is awesome. And the other thing I was looking for is a game called Infinite Space for the Nintendo DS, which very few people seem to have heard of, even at the game booths. Anyway, so obviously I didn't find that game, but I wandered around the dealer's room anyway, and man, it's weird having so much space to move around in there.
Yeah, man.
The aisles are huge this year.
And yet, you still find yourself ducking and weaving through the
aisles.
Yeah.
There's still bottlenecks.
Oh, yeah.
There's still tons of people.
Yeah.
There's more space between people.
It's a lot roomier, which is nice.
You can actually stop and take people's pictures. It's great.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
That is true. And we got a great story about that for later, but where people choose to take their pictures.
Yeah. So, after we did the Dealer's Room, we didn't go to any more panels, but kind of on Goat's suggestion, we wanted to check out some of the video rooms, which we hadn't done, and I hadn't done a long time. Even like the last few times I came to Anime North, I didn't even go to the video rooms because at the time I was into anime, and I myself was kind of looking up and curating the new anime that I was digesting. So I would kind of like research and see what I liked, see what I didn't. I'm no longer doing that. I don't have much connection to the anime world at all. So we're to the point where we're just like kind of walking into video rooms and seeing what we like and what we don't like.
Well, a lot of this for me is driven, and I've noticed this over the last couple of years. Z and T, you guys, you come on a mission, and it is a panel-based mission.
Yes.
And like I said before, I don't do that research. For me, I come here, and the one thing I have in my back pocket is I would like to leave having found one new thing that I either not considered before or just happens to actually be new. Yeah. So, for example, last year I came back with 6 volumes of Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
And I promptly destroyed that manga. So this year, of course, on the mission to find something, I was in and out. I do it every year.
But did you decide to check out Attack on Titan High School?
No, you mentioned this yesterday, and I promptly forgot about it. I'm very prompt in everything I do.
I haven't read any of it, but I get the feeling it's something that's like, hey, what if there was an alternate universe for Titans and we wanted to put them through high school? Why not that? I don't know. I that's something where I'd want to do my research on.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I would purchase it outright. I should have gone and visited the manga library. But to return to the point, we dropped in on some quick anime screenings today.
Yeah, and the Fresh from Japan.
I wish we'd caught more of it.
Yeah, we were only there for like the last hour or so.
It was the wrong hour.
We caught the tail end of Shin
Megami Tensei?
No, that's a video game.
I know,
but Shin Boko or something.
The premise seemed to be based around a group of people who do like dubbing.
Yeah, they were talking about getting things inked and colored, and then people having to go do voice dubbing and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And the editing and the pacing was something that I hadn't really seen in anime before. It was like just people doing this job of putting an anime together, but they were like very quick cuts. And, very back and forth. And it was a really, really dynamic, appealing sort of show. We only caught the last 10 minutes of it.
It's a new age styling. It's not as uncommon as you might think. But then you've been away from the game for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's one of those things. It's like it's kind of following a group of people in a more real to life kind of situations. Like it's their job. It's something they're passionate about. It's not some far and away fantasy fiction.
Yeah.
Which I found refreshing in recent years. It's a nice way to go. Unfortunately, as Green said, we only did like 10 minutes of that, and it was over. And then we got a sample of what must be G's favorite anime in recent years.
What is it? It's called Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in Dungeons or something like that?
That's exactly what it's called.
And it started out with a little bit of mythology. Some of the gods have come down to Earth and chosen to live here, kind of thing. That's cool.
They've given up their powers and passed them on in some small way to champions, as it were.
It's a very oriented around like D&D and stuff like that. It's an old timey village. Adventurers go to the dungeons to fight monsters to gain experience. Basically, they trade in all their little magic stones to get coins. Magic stones that the monsters dropped, kind of thing. And it's very kind of almost playing up the this is like a functioning RPG played out in real life. And there's kind of seemed to be an order to it, like there's a banker who gave you your coins for your magic shards, as you do, so like that. And then the shot that did it for me was this dude came to his house and he has a goddess living there, the goddess that he, I don't know about worships, but like praise.
She chose him as the guardian. Each god or goddess chooses a set of guardians, basically, to protect them and fight for them and this, that kind of thing.
And the shot that got me was they're sitting there on a couch. He's wearing, I don't know, sloppy black sweatshirt and like sweatpants, and she's wearing what is basically a skin tight apron.
It was more like a shift.
and she's got like breasts out to here, and I'm like,
okay, and then what happens?
and then it was all a blur.
I like where this is going.
He had a way of actually tracking his statistics. Like, oh, my agility went up today. Not I got faster, but my agility went up. And
it gave the feeling that you're waiting for any moment for it to kick out and it's some kid in his bedroom who's just logged off. But no, it is not that. It's just that is the way their life is. And it's rife with fan service and every anime trope you could possibly imagine.
He heard his grandfather's words in his head. A woman likes a man who is strong and can protect her. That's why you have to be a great adventurer to go to the dungeon. And like just one thing after another, and it was. We did not stay for the second episode of that.
I had a good laugh at it, but I did notice that every 30 seconds G was like looking at me and just like glanced at Are you done with this? I was just like great.
But the last video we went to was a lot more promising, which was the movie Hal.
Oh yes, I want to finish that.
We unfortunately did not get to see Hal because we had to go for dinner. But it was I assume sort of taking its name from the 2001 computer of the same name,
which is kind of ironic because it was about a machine that definitely was not named Hal, replacing a real person who was named Hal.
Yeah, exactly.
So
a twist.
Just a little twist.
Yes.
But what it was I don't know. It's a pretty common idea in terms of people's not only is it love, loss, and heartbreak and all that good stuff, and learning to cope and or replace something that's lost. It was as much about people's discomfort in maybe accepting a machine in the place of.
Yeah, the basic premise was that this woman had a partner who had died in a plane crash, and she was not sleeping, not eating, and not taking care of herself at all. She was sent an assistant basically to help her get back on track, and the assistant was made to look exactly like the partner who had died, and so she had trouble accepting that. And it was just kind of hitting a turning point as we left. We were about halfway through probably. But
it was really cool because it's like there's this one of the central plot points is this Rubik's Cube. It's basically it starts off with this Rubik's Cube and it's all scrambled up and you can clearly see where someone has been writing on it. And basically the robot is day by day working out this Rubik's Cube to try and get all the sides to match up. And every time he gets one side matched up, there's an order or like a wish from the guy who he's been made to look like. Yeah. So it's like live with her, cook with her, buy her a giraffe. Stuff like this.
And so he's as he solves each one, he does the different thing, and then she seems to sort of respond to that more and more as it goes on. But it was interesting. The animation was gorgeous.
Yeah, it's not unpredictable. It's just it's one of those it's just one of those timeless themes, I suppose. Yeah. And as you said, the animation was beautiful. The cinematography was well carried out. It reminds me of with some of the shots. It takes me back to when I first saw Evangelion, where they just, there'd be that remote shot, and you're just kind of listening to the ambient sound for a little bit, and then it passes into a scene and something's going on. Like there's something, maybe it's nostalgia for me, but that kind of cinematography has always kind of spoke to me in a way. So,
what else do you guys get up to?
I was talking with Z earlier today about there's just, it feels like something, not something that we were up to, but just that. Reflecting on how this year was kind of different than past years.
Yeah.
So
even from last year.
Last year in particular, as the GOAT promptly mentioned, we
because they do everything promptly.
He is. He's a very prompt man.
Sorry. Continue.
As the GOAT had mentioned, Z and I tend to go to a lot of panels, and as such, in the past there tend to be a lot of panels on all sorts of things that are fan related but almost tangential. So talking about things like writing and editing, talking about things like social media, starting a business, all that kind of stuff. We had a friend who runs panels, Fan to Pro. But this year, there seemed to be like a lot less of those kind of things. And that was just like one of the things that we noticed. And like, well, sorry, if you want to add more to that.
I want to chime in a little bit here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't just, like, I would definitely say that I don't think there were any... There was a crowdfunding panel again.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody
still
made it out to that, unfortunately. No. But we went to it last year. How much could crowdfunding change in a year, guys? Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Patreon.
GoFundMe.
I don't know what that is. I didn't go to the panel. Anyway.
And now you're incapable of learning.
Exactly.
It's true. You can only learn at panels.
Oh well, next year.
Anyway. But like, there wasn't a social media panel. There wasn't like, entrepreneurial this or entrepreneurial that. But there was a lot of writing stuff. And
there was a lot of writing stuff.
There was a lot of, there were, and maybe still are, quite a few animation panels too. Like, so you want to be an animator, or like them that does the comics.
Them what's does.
Them
yeah,
what's
them
does.
what's does.
Yeah.
Reflecting on it a bit more, I imagine what is the case is that there are people that often come every time, either voice actors, because there also wasn't a lot of voice acting stuff. There was some, but I imagine they just have certain guests that come, and they couldn't make it. Maybe they were... Actually, it could even be because this is Memorial Day weekend in the United States, and I know that in San Jose there's an anime con down there. There's probably anime cons all over the place, but...
I was always under the impression that's why they moved Anime North to this weekend, so that it would sync up with the American holiday and make it easier for Americans to come out.
Oh, that could be. I don't honestly know.
As opposed to the Victoria Day weekend, which would be easy
Is it
for
possible?
Yeah.
Is it possible it just got more to do with a natural evolution, new blood, as it were? I mean, you have so many people. You have certain people who are there every year for so many years, and they do the same panels every year for so many years, and over time, it's time for the lake to turn over, as it were.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely
possible.
And we're just trying new things.
Right.
Yeah.
We saw today that there are definitely people who've been at Anime North since its inception, pretty much. And also, people have different schedules. Maybe the reason we didn't see voice actors is because there's significantly less voice acting work, like English voice acting work, that's taking place. Or if it is taking place, it's not taking place in Toronto.
No.
As much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're reflecting on that a bit today.
Well, I mean, to get a little inside baseball, but not so much with us, but with
you said inside baseball in the last 24 hours.
Gotta give props where
That's
props
the
are due.
second since last.
Give props where props are due. Radio Free Nintendo, everybody. Listen to Radio Free Nintendo. That's where I got inside baseball. It's also a thing just in general. Anyway, like the way that panels are set up at Anime North is that it's basically, you propose an idea, you go into the forums, and then you try to find people, you try to convince people to sign up for that same panel. So, I mean, just the people on the forums might not have had the same interests. And I mean, for a lot of the professional panels that we used to go to all the time, that used to be around all the time, like you said, the guy who would run, 2-3 panels just isn't here, so they're not going to get run.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I mean,
I think there is the evolution element.
Yeah, and I mean that's why we're tomorrow going to be doing tomorrow in the Plaza Ballroom A. Ballroom A. At 4:00 p.m., we're all going to be there. Z and I are going to be panelists for a panel called "The Lazy Fan's Guide to Getting Started," where we'll probably talk about this podcast a lot because it's pretty relevant.
And we'll be in the audience cheering them on.
Yeah, or belittling us, or whatever it is that makes sense. Probably less you and more you.
I may try to just throw out as many curveball questions as possible. They may not be concise. In fact, they will intentionally be inconcise and lengthy. And they'll just go on. And after a while, you start to wonder if I'm ever really going to shut up.
So please join us for that tomorrow. At 4 o'clock. Plaza Ballroom A.
Plaza Ballroom A.
Lazy Fan's Guide to Getting Started.
Yep.
Before we finish up, because we're getting there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Does anybody have anything they'd like to touch on for today's MVPs for cosplay?
I actually want to get one more word in about panels and that kind of junk.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You know, we all went to different panels. We all went to mostly panels, you know, about anime. Or like screenings. Or like sort of workshops, tutorials.
Yep.
But like, you know, a small part of Anime North that we don't really seem to go to that often is the video game part of Anime North.
I discussed this with Green. I was a little disappointed we didn't do it.
Okay.
Next year.
And you know, I since G pointed it out to me, I guess maybe possibly as a joke initially, but there's this documentary called Nintendo Quest, and you know, since you pointed it out to me, I've kind of been following it. I've been retweeting their stuff and like, you know, retweeting their Kickstarter and Googling their Facebook, and I saw as soon as the schedule for Anime North came up that there's going to be a panel like with the guy who went on the Nintendo Quest, and you know, that kind of got me excited for it. So you know, I kind of waffled on it, you know, all day. It's like 7 o'clock, kind of supper, but I figured, well, I'd really like to go to PAX at some point. That'd be awesome. Or like even this Unplugged Expo that's it's coming up down the pipes. Maybe not
PAX
this year.
East, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So I figured, why not get a little taste of a video game convention? Why not go to a video game panel? So I went to the Nintendo Quest panel, and you know, it was maybe not your typical video game panel because it was about a documentary in which they couldn't actually show any trailers for the documentary. But it was still really interesting. Like it was just sort of the star of the documentary, if documentaries have stars, and a producer, and they just, you know, talked about the project. They talked about like what Nintendo meant to them, how a lot of it sort of circled back around this idea of community, and how, you know, back in the day when the NES first came out, community was built up around, you know, a kid in your neighborhood having all the cool stuff. So they would have the NES. You would go over there and just play video games all the time. And, you know, everybody would go over there and they'd kind of contribute, like, that doesn't work, try this. That doesn't work, try that. Or, you know, you'd buy Nintendo Power or, like, EGM or whatever was around back then. And they kind of, you know, bemoaned the loss of that. And they bemoaned all the digital stuff that's in games now, you know. People aren't buying physical copies anymore and all that stuff. So it was kind of more personal than, you know, most panels tend to be. But it was still really interesting, and it was still like neat to see that side of Anime North, which we don't really see that often.
Well, I think like we were saying yesterday, there's all sorts of events at Anime North that we don't go to. There's the Masquerade, the skit contest, the more recently the dance. In the past we've done that. There's all the gaming stuff. I would like one year to do like the Anime North Idol, even though I would probably bomb it terribly.
Maybe you would, T, but not Danny Zuko.
You could go back in time to Friday of the Con, like this year, and do a completely different con. But fill your time just as much.
Oh, definitely.
Possibly more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It would be a Herculean task to get absolutely everything in here. Impossible.
Oh no, but like there's so many different ways you can go. Like there's tons of stuff to experience.
Yeah.
I really wish I could remember a Tolkien quote right now.
It's fine.
No, it's the one about, you know, stepping out of your front door and it's like a river, and if you're not careful, it'll sweep you away. And similarly, at the beginning of the con, you know, just about any possibility could sweep you away. You could spend all your time in the dealer's room, or do just about anything else. Yeah. Do we want to wrap this up, gentlemen?
Oh, the MVP.
The MVP. Let's go back to
MVP cosplay.
Yes.
Start this
Yeah.
off.
I'm really verbose tonight, so I'll go first.
Swords.
Whoever had the most swords wins.
Game of Swords.
He is not wrong. He is definitely not wrong. My cosplay MVP of the day was again Fairy Tail, because I went to the Fairy Tail photo shoot. You know, I saw a lot of Fairy Tail cosplayers, and one character in Fairy Tail, you're probably familiar with her because she comes in fairly early, is a character named Urza Scarlet. and she's like this kind of sword maiden, and her magic allows her to re-equip, which basically just means that she like can immediately change her armor and like whatever weapon she's wielding. So she has different forms of this armor that she uses for different situations, and one of them is like this. I think it's her ultimate form, so to speak, her final form, and it's just like this crazy, like almost mecha-like armor.
Okay.
But it's also got it also has like a bunch of swords that sort of circle around her that she can then send off.
Oh, like a fan of
Yeah,
swords.
like a fan of swords. And somebody was cosplaying as that, and it was just like a really well done costume. I have no idea what the materials used were, but it looked really, really nice. It looked maybe not like actual plate armor or whatever, but like it looked really well done, and it was really impressive, and yeah, it's just a really well done costume. And I helped her with her name tag, clipping it onto her bag. So yeah, a little bias.
A little, rub elbows with the stars.
Exactly.
Never gonna wash these elbows again.
I think it was Goat and I ran in this. I think it was the wolf from Princess Mononoke, with the red markings and stuff like that.
I think Z had this one identified.
Oh,
Could be.
Amaterasu?
Yeah, I can never pronounce it, so I just said the main character from
Oh,
Okami.
yeah, Okami, yeah.
Yeah,
Amaterasu.
but it was someone with a full like wolf costume,
Yeah.
but they were inside on all fours, not on their knees, on their hands and feet, walking around, and that sort of dedication.
Well, it was like
is
those
mind-boggling.
gorilla suit extensions you get.
Yeah.
So that they were walking on their knuckles, so to speak, but it was like, knuckle stilts or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and it was done in such a way perfectly that, as soon as they bent over, it had the look of a dog.
It looked
Framed
very
dead
impressive,
on.
and
It was clean.
dedication to work in the hot sun to be completely inside a costume, walking around on all fours like that is like, wow.
Yeah.
And when it comes to mentioning that dedication, honorable mention to the LARP guys. They come out every year to advertise their LARP crew.
Oh,
and
in
they've
that
got that big stone
that stone
golem.
golem, that was amazing.
Oh, were
Really?
they out again?
They were
Yeah.
out again.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't see them this
Missed
year.
them.
They're
Somehow
giant.
was-
Just this big. It's hulking. It's got to be like 8 feet
At
tall.
least, yeah.
Like it's big.
Awesome.
I mean, I would probably have it as tie because I'm lazy and I can't remember most of the costumes that I saw today. So this morning, one of the first things that I saw, I think I was walking with you, the goat.
Could be.
I was like, hey, do you see that over there? The
Oh,
red
yes.
and blue. Yeah, it was you? Okay. There was, like, right in our beeline, Mega Man and Zero. And big fan of Mega Man. Well, I guess it was X, but big fan of Mega Man. And just like, hey, do you see Mega Man Zero? He's like, no. And I'm like, it's right in front of us. And it's just like, no, I didn't see it. It's like, this is one of the few times where you don't need to look left or right. It's like right there. Anyway. So it was a pretty well done costume. It was looked like a combination of cardboard for the actual frame and then like just a really good paint job to make it look very professional.
It had a very slick look to it. They had it down.
Yeah.
Because I saw them later on, and who were they posing with? It was the Halo guys, and
Oh yeah, because they
there's-
had that too.
there's a lot of Halo Master Chiefs running around every year.
Yeah.
And
And
but
Samus.
Samus. That's
you
the-
guys saw
the-
Samus?
Yep.
It was the three of them posed. There was two Halo Master Chiefs, Samus, and Mega Man and Zero.
Did you guys?
And they were all just excellent.
I never have I seen a circle of people dressed so well who are probably so sweaty.
Alright.
Did you guys get pictures?
No. You know I don't take pictures, T. Ever. I just don't do it. I can't be bothered.
You'll see them tomorrow.
They'll be around. They'll be around.
The second thing I was going to say for my choice, which is very apropos, I would say, is that I saw a certain someone from Kill la Kill, a member of Nudist Beach, complete with glowing nipples.
Oh, that guy.
That
Yeah,
guy. The teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also that cosplayer, because I'm pretty sure I've seen him.
Yeah. Oh, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
These two want to see Kill la Kill this evening.
Haven't seen it at all.
And
12
we've
o'clock?
already missed the first episode.
Yes.
Wow, we've been running this one for a long time.
Yeah.
Running as expected.
Oh, beautiful.
That being said, do we want to wrap this thing up?
Before
Do we want to wrap this thing up?
I just want to bring up one more thing, guys. This is
One
what we
more
call a
thing.
callback in the business. You guys had mentioned a story about people taking pictures in bad places.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Oh, we
If you
could
don't
talk
mind,
about that.
if you don't mind telling it. Well, I was just thinking, tell the story. and
It's
then we wrap,
very
but
very
whatever.
briefly. If there's anybody here from Anime North who's watching this, it is very much part of the experience here that you come out. We're appreciating each other's costumes, and the photo shoots are very important. And for that reason, they do quite stringently schedule photo shoots for very particular fandoms and animes and everything. And there's locations for them and everything.
Yeah.
And then you look out the window and you see right in the middle of the roadway a photographer lying flat out in the middle of the road with two people like on roller skates skating around for, and and
those
they're-
Jet Grand Radio people.
I think
and
so,
they're
yeah.
getting up and they're moving every like 2 or 3 minutes for the car, and they were doing this for like 20 minutes, a half hour,
Easily.
and cars trying to get through the parking lot here, and it's like, guys, you've chosen the wrong spot for your photo shoot. Please, please, please have a little bit more intelligence
And do
about
not-
how you affect the people around us who have the good grace to accept us here for
Yeah.
this very, very what's the word I'm looking for? I mean,
Overwhelming event.
yes,
I mean, businesses, the roads, everything just
You
gets
just-
overwhelmed.
the businesses benefit, but
Yeah.
the traffic must hate us.
You don't need to be doing photo shoots in the road.
No. Why don't we do it in the road?
Why not we not do it in the road? And with that said, I think we're going to wrap this up.
Okay, sorry. The first thing that came to my mind was there may be better sources for news, but they don't have this ad, but that is a different thing. Thank you, everyone, for watching. That's right. You're actually watching us this time, as opposed to every other time I say that and completely forget that you're listening to it.
He's actually accurate.
Broken clock is right twice a day?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool.
Not if you're
Depends
watching
where
it,
you
though.
As we mentioned previously, you can follow us on a whole bunch of things at the Nickscast, SoundCloud, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook.
Just look in the description.
Yeah.
It's all down there.
Just Google it.
Well, yeah, that works too. And we're not experts.
We're not.
We're
no,
not.
we're not.
Bye.
My God.
And scene. So that one's what? That was that one legitimately an hour and
We're
a half.
still recording.
I know we're still.